I should say that, as I mentioned in my e-bike, I have a secret fantasy of having a job like James Lipton. And in some research preparing for tonight, I learned that James Lipton, on a show inside the actor's studio, he has a strict policy of no pre-interviews with any of his guests. He just does research because he feels like the guest knows the questions in advance, the conversation isn't as good, and so I'm following that. Correct, Bonesaw? You don't know what I'm going to ask you, right?
I have no idea.
Fantastic. Okay. Last time I saw you was actually at a wedding of another college roommate of ours, and at that wedding, after the bride and groom went through the ceremony, the bride and groom had requested Bonesaw, as immediately after the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, he requested that Bonesaw in the audience rip off his shirt, stand up on a chair, and play the famous Slash guitar solo from Guns N' Roses' November Rain as they walked down the aisle. This was their vision and dream for their first moments of actual marriage. My 3-year-old was there, and it is going to be probably still one of the best moments of his life for a long time. Slash was the solo. I know from living together, Slash has been a big hero and influence. Tell me about growing up, what music you listen to, your influences.
First of all, that was, I had to check about 6 times with the bride to make sure that was actually what she wanted. And definitely a career highlight for me was playing that solo. Anyway, as far as musical influences, Slash, I mean, I do have a life-size cardboard cutout of Slash in my garage. It's still there, my parents' garage, that my mom got for me just for fun, because she knew how much I loved him. So that says something about my mom, and also that my love for Slash. So GNR was a big influence, mostly because they were my first concert, and my dad took me, when I was in 8th grade. So, my earlier playing was highly influenced by Slash and other good guitar players, rock and roll guitar players. But since then, it's evolved to almost the music that I was exposed to before I really understood, like the oldies that my parents used to listen to, Beach Boys, stuff like that, has become much more of an influence nowadays. Although I have a very 95% of the time I listen to music, it's heavy metal music, which is not going to sound anything like tonight, but I can't explain that. But there it is.
Did you always want to be a musician growing up when you were a kid?
Well, my best friend growing up was a drummer, and our friendship kind of revolved around our music together. At the same time, when I was 12, Hoag started playing drums. My brother, the drummer of the band, and singer, when he was 10, and so if I wasn't playing with Brooke, I was often playing with my brother. And so it was always sports and music. It was just a constant theme throughout our lives. And then when I was in like 97, 98, all my brother and I did over the summer vacation was just sports and music. So we actually wrote our first album together. We called it Sports and Heavy Music. And that's still kind of like the dream album that we wish we had made and could make, and call it Sports and Heavy Music. But sometime toward the end of college, my sports career, went down, and my music career kind of came up, so that became a big priority. So I guess, ever since I was little.
And after college, I remember you were a teacher also for a little while, you're also playing. Was there a moment where you were teaching for a couple years after school and you were still sort of debating, okay, am I really going to do this? Or
No, senior year of college, it was pretty definite. That's what I wanted to do. And the teaching thing, my brother was in college in New Haven, and I got to finish school, and I wanted him, and he wanted to finish school, so I still had 3 years to kill. And so I taught middle school history, somewhat underground, but right from the get-go when I got hired, I told them, look, I'm leaving in a year. And then they ended up convincing me for 2 years, but the big actual benefit of that was that I had a built-in fan base when the band started, because I'd been talking about moving to Texas and trying to become a rock star the whole time I was teaching these middle school kids, and now they're actually the same age as Sonny, our bass player. So they've been, that dates me big time, but so they've been they were the biggest supporters of the band early on, so it actually was a calculated business move to make it a built-in fan base.
So you eventually moved to Austin. Was the move to Austin after your brother graduated college? Because I remember hearing about there was this 5-year plan, and I remember, the other guys who I lived with were all roommates together, and Tim was going to try and be a musician, and he was going to, give it a shot. He was going to move to Austin, and he's going to give it 5 years, something like that. What was that? What do you remember that? And
well, I did move a year before he was there, and part of that was just like a personal mission to. I love being at home. I love my family, and I wanted to challenge myself and try to go somewhere where I was, it wasn't easy, I mean, I had one of our other college roommates was there, but otherwise I didn't really know anything about Texas. I'd never been to Austin. So part of it was like a personal challenge of just trying to get out. And then I had 1 year before Hoag showed up. And our plan was to try to make it, obviously, make it, whatever that is, the definition that's changed for us a lot, but in maybe a 5-year span. But at the same time that I was there, it was the same time that the entire music industry was getting really, changed because of the change in digital music and stuff. I think like 99 and 2000 was the biggest year of album sales, and I moved to Austin in 2002, so it just crested the top, and I was about to crash. So my 5-year plan obviously changed significantly as that changed. And it's funny looking back on that now because of how different it is and how many times it's been revised. I mean, in the 10th year of it now, I think.
So, at some point also along the way, I think it was after you took the plunge, moved to Austin, Tim became Bonesaw. And I don't even know, should I call you Bonesaw?
It's a big sticking point for some of my friends from before.
What do your parents call you?
My dad calls me Bonesaw. My mom.
Really?
Yes, he does.
That's amazing.
Every voicemail, Bonesaw! Bonesaw's ready!
Because when I get an email from Bonesaw, the name when it pops up in your email, it says Bonesaw exclamation point. Where normally it would say Matt Schnuck or Ed Johnson, Bonesaw exclamation point.
Well, I get a lot of grief from Hoag actually about my overuse of exclamation points, but
let's get back to Bonesaw and the transition from Tim to Bonesaw. I want to know about the idea. I want to know how it happened.
I mean, I'm a nickname guy, and we're all nickname guys. I mean, we have Smell, Sonny, Hoag, and Bonesaw, and we had. It's not a great story, but we had a song that had the intro sounded like a saw sound. And Hoag was like, "You should say Bonesaw's ready when we play that song." We call it Bonesaw because of the Spider-Man movie where he wrestles Randy Macho Man Savage to earn money, and Macho Man Savage, goes, "Bonesaw's ready!" And then, so whatever. So we played that. I would say that before the song started on stage, and my on-stage persona is like a somewhat different persona than my regular personality, I suppose. And so it just kind of fit.
So who are we talking to now?
You're talking to Tim, I suppose.
Now let's talk to Bonesaw. Okay, but it helps you get into a character, right?
Sure. I mean, yeah, it's part of all the bands that I loved growing up, such as Guns N' Roses and Slash. They had nicknames, and they played without their shirts on. And then we started doing that, and everybody's like, "This band only plays with their shirts on." They had dumb names, but whatever. That's who we are. That's what we do.
So is Bonesaw? Okay, well. Bonesaw, then some of you guys have seen Bonesaw play, others of you guys have not. This is the moment in the evening when I want to make my first audio-visual interlude and show you a video. I'll get. Yeah. Up on the screen, we're going to watch a video. At some point, Bonesaw was able to get himself sponsored by Gibson Guitars, and in my research I came across this video, and oh my god, I was so glad I did, because it's like I can't wait to show this. It's 90 seconds of Bonesaw playing guitar. I'm tempted to say homoerotic, but I'm going to say it's 90 seconds of maybe the most sexual guitar playing I've ever seen. There's no better way I could possibly explain Bonesaw the character than just playing this.
You won't use that. You know, keeps it, they wouldn't, I made that for them, they never did anything with it. They stopped giving me guitars because I made that video. It's the truth.
I'm just so glad that exists. I mean, when I first found it, I played it and I sort of dared myself to try and be in a worse mood after watching it, and I found it to be impossible because, I mean, A, it was hilarious in moments just knowing how long I've known you, but B, I've never had anything close to that much fun in my job. I mean, I've worked at a computer most of my life, as have, I'm sure, a lot of people in here. I don't have an instrument. The closest thing would probably be a computer keyboard. I've never licked it after sending an awesome email.
The licking thing is unfortunate.
No, it's not! Anyway, it looks like you have a lot of fun doing what you do. Talk to me about that. Is performing the most fun part of your job? Is it?
Well, I mean, it's definitely the most fun part, but it really speaks to the tattoo that we all have.
Tell me about that.
Everybody in the band has this 2% tattoo, and this is actually attributed to Smell. It is a lot of fun, but it's also a lot that goes into it, and it's a lot of travel and everything. And he calculated that through all the times that we were traveling and doing everything else involved in like coming to play a show, we only spend 2% of the day actually on stage. So that is our 2%, and this kind of became our rallying cry when things are hard, or when like we're at home and we feel like nobody's listening, stuff like that, or it's snowing at 3 in the morning and we're loading in, or, loading out from the show. We do it for the 2%. So we all have the same tattoo on our right arm, and that is all tied to these guys got it first, and kind of our rallying cry, and then Sean got it when he joined the band. So that's really all it is. It's just like all 4 of us have been fortunate to drill down on exactly what our 2% of life is and be able to do it.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's easy if you have that, I guess.
And with that, career progresses in Austin, and you're, doing more touring, building the fan base, and at some point, you guys start doing these takeovers. And tell the folks here what those are, how those started.
Well, being in Austin is a very competitive music scene, and also, like I said, the music business was changing. And by the way, I'm sorry it's so hot. Must be very uncomfortable. You can fan yourself with the programs that I made. But anyway, we started doing these promotional stunts called takeovers, where we would just, if we had a known area where people would be congregating, we would just set up and play. Like, for example, on tours, if we had a show in Auburn, we would go to Auburn campus, and for that 10 minutes where classes are changing over, everybody's walking, we would just set up in the quad and rock out. Usually we would get that 10 minutes in before the administration would come down. And that was just good training for me in general, because I'm usually very shy, but having to get in trouble every day was it was good training for I don't know, how to push the limits of things in general. So we decided to take that on a larger scale, and we followed a much bigger band for an entire summer tour just to see what could happen. And we played to the parking lots every night, lost thousands of dollars, and gave out thousands of CDs, and it led to some pretty awesome stuff in the end. And
I'd love to show the trailer. That'd be good.
Sure.
Is there any more setup? That's the tour you're talking about, right?
Yeah, and so we made a movie about it finally. Actually, Hoag made a movie, and it's called Takeover. And it's unreleased yet. Some of y'all may have seen it, but hopefully it'll be coming out someday. But I mean, so getting a movie out there is just as hard as getting great out there.
What do we do with Farco? Over there? No, right here.
Should we go back there early? Park right here? The hazards on?
Honestly, I want it to be our break. I want it to be, this is the next step. You always think about that. Who knows if the next step is going to be the big one. I want it to be the big one.
Walking up, cars slowing down, about 200 yards.
We don't really know what the hell's going to go on.
Alright, here.
No kidding?
That's rowdy as hell, man. I like it.
When people realize that it's something that's like a take, that really is a takeover, they're more drawn to it. You know, they're sort of drawn to the renegade aspect of it.
That probably gets correct.
I get less and less interested in like normal path of things. You know, you get with like club especially bring people.
It's tough for morale when you play like a show with a sound guy in Atlanta or something where you're like, you thought it was like a really cool show, you went to the park and promoted all day, and still you play the show. There's nobody out there.
How long have you been for?
All right.
Then we're thinking to ourselves, well, maybe we don't have to play shows inside in the building.
The cast of the game have restricted business. There's gas prices and all this kind of stuff, but like, we can make it work. And, I don't want to be like, man, I didn't achieve my dreams because the gas prices were high.
I'm excited to see what goes wrong. They're not gonna shoot us.
Hey, everybody, let's get the game face off. Where are we going?
Are they gonna shoot us?
Shut the fuck up for a second. Remember I'm behind that white car?
Very stressful time.
So how long ago was that tour, and what has sort of happened since, taking up to where you guys are now?
Well, real quick, the takeover tour was in the summer of 2008, and it took us so long to get the movie out because we set some drama and who could make it and stuff. And Hoag actually stepped up and made the movie himself, so that's finally been done. But the actual takeover tour, you know, not to give away the ending, but we ran into one of the guys in 311 on the last night of the last day of the tour at the Apple Store. It was very serendipitous and ridiculous. I don't know how that worked out, but he gave us the manager's number. He kind of finagled, you know, I emailed the manager. He actually wrote me back. I never told anybody this really, but I made up an excuse that we were going to go to LA, and I told him like, hey, we're going to be in LA. Can we come interview you? And like he said, you know, he kind of grudgingly said yes. So we all flew out to LA. Hoag and I and our friend Morgan flew out to LA and met with him for an hour. And in the meantime, he showed the guys in 311 the trailer, and they were into it, and they asked us to play some shows with them for real. So we went on the big stage, and that's kind of the big, you know, ending of the movie. But then that since led to a lot more stuff with them and with some other bands, where we've met some, you know, a lot of our fan base since, and have become great friends with their managers and such. They're actually hosting a show on Thursday night.
Nice.
Wait, time out. I gotta say some stuff.
So, Bonesaw gets what he wants to get. And it all started way back when he was, you mentioned him being a teacher?
Yes.
A middle school teacher? This story summarizes how he gets what he wants. He lost his bike. His bike was stolen, his bike was ruined, whatever. He gets up the next day, goes to the morning assembly, gets up in front of the whole school, and begs for a bike. And he had about 6 offers for a bike. A couple hours later, he said, well, you asked for a bike. Say, hey, man, y'all, I could really use a bike. Can I get a bike, y'all? So he got the bike. So the way this 311 thing worked is the takeover is like a macro version of that. He wants something, he's going to go get it, right? So when the Raspler thing happened, the Rasplers are the 311's managers. So they offer us one show. And he's like, we'll take it. And then he emailed him like a couple days later. He's like, we'd also take more shows if you wanted to give us more shows. And I can't believe it, but it worked. They gave us 2 more shows. They had this cruise going on after that, and he's like, they didn't indicate that they wanted us on that at all. He's like, we would also do that cruise if you wanted us to do that cruise. Then he's like, sure, you guys want to do the cruise. So that's what he's like.
Bonesaw's brother Hoag.
That's not good. I don't know if that's this stuff, I
Wait,
guess.
so perfect segue into one of my last questions for the first segment then. If Bonesaw gets what he wants, then what does Bonesaw want for the band that he doesn't have now? And where are you trying to get to that you aren't? right now?
Well, that's a good question because it's, that's kind of the question that everybody wants to know, especially as I get into my 30s and people are like, hey, you still going after it, whatever. Although I get that less and less because people seem to think that we're actually doing well, which I feel like we are. Anyway, where do I want the band to go? I have less of a defined, my 5-year plan is less of a defined thing because my definition of success has changed. I mean, I play shows in front of thousands and thousands of people, and those are very fulfilling and fun, and I kind of feed that video before this, they feed that side of the personality, but doing this kind of touring has also shown me that like you get the same feeling of awesomeness from a great intimate experience around a campfire in Monroe, Washington, like we had Friday, so I was actually running the band. It's a bad analogy, I guess, but maybe there is not a limit to how good something can be, but like a great show is like, there's great shows and there's no, they can just be very different, like in the same way your body can only take so much vitamin C, like there's a cap to how awesome a show can be, and it doesn't have to be because of thousands of people or millions of dollars or whatever. So in that way, I feel like we're already successful, and this is great. I mean, I love to play music, and I feel like we have fans anywhere. I mean, we played a show in Omaha we never played before on this last tour, and after the show, late at night, kind of under a orange street light, whatever, so you can just kind of picture the evening. Hoag and I were out at the van after it had been loaded, and you could hear one of our songs, which we played tonight, Hallways, coming out. The guy who owns the bar was playing it over the loudspeaker, and I just kind of nudged him, and I was like, when we're at home and it's been a long time since we played a show and we're feeling like nobody's listening, like I'm gonna think about Jake playing our music in Omaha, So those kind of experiences that made me feel like we're already successful and like if this is as far as we get, we've already had a 10-year career. Like he said, we've lasted longer than Guns N' Roses, so like. But there is the reality, of course, of needing more money. I mean, like. Eventually we're going to want families and kids and such, and it would be great if the music could support that, career-wise. But
So, you wanted a bike when you were a teacher and it got busted up. What's your version of the bike now? Or
man, that's a difficult question, man.
see, I think this is where it breaks down, Hoag. Maybe.
Reach the end of the line.
Well, he gets what he wants when he knows it's what he wants.
He doesn't know what he wants next.
Well, or when it's super clear and tangible, right?
That may be true, but I mean, it's because I feel like in a career and in life, you can't have, it serves the wrong, it sends you down the wrong path if you try to get to the exact place in life in general. And to me, like my career, my music, and my experience with these 4 guys is just, that's my life. So I'm not gonna like pigeonhole into or make myself feel like if we don't get to a point where we're drawing 20,000 fans at night, it's a failure. Like, right. I kind of let that go a little while ago, and since I started to think of my career and our experiences as being a success already, I stressed about it way less, and I feel a lot better. And it's, actually some of my girlfriend's roommate said, it was one of the nicest compliments I feel like I ever got, where she said, Bonesaw's not rich by any means, but he's rich in life. I mean, like my experiences are rich, and so I feel like that's already, I need to pay bills, but that we are fortunate to already be rich in life, and so I feel like, I don't know. I feel like we're already successful, but at the same time, like I said on the phone the other day,
that's great.
If we were to get to reach a much larger group of fans, and with our music, not only is it great to see the effect that we have, that the music can have on people, but also the things we could do with that kind of popularity would be awesome. Yeah. So I'd like to do some of that kind of stuff. And play some music.
Well, thank you for this here's some music. Round of applause for part 1.
I'm very comfortable in front of people when I'm playing guitar, but it's much more difficult when I'm not.
I think that was great. Everybody, let's take a couple minutes. Everyone wants to fill their glass up, and we're going to hear a couple songs, and then we'll get back and talk a little bit more and then play.
All right.